Hi folks, Carter here with Rippling. Our tutorial today is key security settings that you need to enable. By the end of this quick video, our goal is to have familiarized you with some key security concepts in Rippling and get you some easy to digest info that you need to make your organization more secure. First, we're going to discuss how to set up multi-factor authentication in Rippling. Second, we'll cover behavioral detection rules and risk-based authentication settings. And finally, we'll review endpoint security best practices and make sure that your work devices are locked down and configured exactly how you want. Let's jump right in though. Multi-factor authentication, commonly referred to as MFA or 2FA, is a security process that requires your users to provide 2 or more verification factors to gain access to a system. This enhances protection beyond just a single password that your users write down on napkins underneath their keyboards, even though they're told not to. These factors typically include something you know, a password, something you have, like a smartphone or a hardware token, or something that you are, such as a fingerprint or facial recognition. A Microsoft published study says MFA reduces the risk of compromise by more than 99%. So great MFA options are included in your Rippling subscription. So don't wait until your users are already compromised and wish you'd set this up later. Let's look at setting it up right now. Turning on MFA in Rippling means deciding what is best for your organization's security by configuring authentication policies that match your needs. So if we go into settings in the sidebar and click security, we're taken to a review tab, which highlights key settings and policies. If I click here into authentication settings, I can see policies I have already created and the option to create new custom policies or spin up some via templates. I have a couple examples here because maybe you have specific sets of employees like contractors or engineers or IT teams that need stricter policies around authentication. So if I click the edit button, I can see the types of settings I can select. And things you'll want to set in accordance with your own security policies are things like session and inactivity timeouts, type of MFA method required, password complexity requirements, and more. If these concepts are new to you, please check out a detailed Help Center article we have titled Best Practices for Password Policies in Rippling, because it will give you the detailed information on each one of these settings if you need, so you can make the right choices for your users. On to our second topic then, behavioral detection rules. Behavioral detection rules and risk-based authentication can be used in various situations and needs, right? But one real-world example is how they allow organizations to create policies to enhance security while supporting remote work. Many organizations must follow strict data access rules outlined in their security policies to meet their compliance goals or follow specific tax laws about where employees are working from. These settings in Rippling allow you to easily enforce your policies. Consider a multinational company that allows employees to work from home or while traveling. The company needs to ensure that sensitive data and applications are accessed securely, regardless of where the employee is located. And to accomplish this, the company could implement behavioral detection rules that never allow employees to attempt to access the company resources or even a subset of specific company resources from outside their corporate network or from like unfamiliar locations completely. For instance, if an employee logs in from the office or from your company's protected VPN network, the system recognizes the secure behavior and allows them to work. However, if the same employee tries to access a secure work resource from a coffee bar or a hotel, that policy could trigger and prevent access. So I'm back in Rippling here in our settings, and if you click the tab labeled Behavioral Detection Rules here, you'll be brought to a section where you can define rules and policies for groups of people or specific apps that trigger actions based on conditions. So keep in mind this highlighted info box right here. It reminds us that rules here are evaluated in priority and as they're displayed top to bottom. I have 2 examples that show off real-world possibilities here. The first one is my traveling employees rule. If your organization has a rule against traveling outside your normal country, for example, without notifying HR, this is perfect. I want this to be scoped to all of my employees unless they've let me or someone in HR know they're traveling. So I've put all, everyone. For this example, I've created a team called Traveling Employees, and I've scoped it as the exception. I could also configure this with saved supergroups and empower and grant the right people access to denote employees as traveling. That way your access logs are perfect. I'm applying this policy to signing into Rippling, which impacts my users signing into Rippling as well as with any other apps I've configured with Rippling SSO when using Rippling Identity and Access Management. My rule states that if someone tries to log in from a new country, we'll block their attempt and send an email to their admins. My other example is a BDR, a behavioral detection rule, that limits my engineering and IT teams for specific tools and makes sure they're on one of our company VPNs that we've configured. You'll see in this example, I've targeted the engineering department and the IT department. And when folks are specifically logging into certain high priority tools listed here, GitHub, Cloudflare, AWS, they'll be required to be signing in from either our office locations or other network ranges we've denoted. Otherwise, we'll block their access. All right, finally, let's talk about endpoint security. The features we're about to discuss are available to you if you're a Rippling device management subscriber. If you're not already, it's a simple add-on, and you can talk to your account manager to get more information. You'll have access to a solution that enables you to manage and secure Apple and Windows computers, as well as iOS and iPadOS devices from a unified platform, ensuring security compliance and protecting sensitive data, and it all happens from one spot. When you first turn on device management, you're guided through a wizard that helps you decide what your best starting security settings are. But you can always change these settings down the line, and those are kind of what we're going to take a look at right now. So if I go into Devices in my Rippling sidebar, and then the Settings tab in Devices, I can easily review my company's settings for device password policies, where we make it incredibly easy to roll out password federation, account privileges, where we decide who can and can't be an administrator on their own machine, encryption settings and operating system updates are here as well, making sure you're keeping your fleet locked down and up to date in accordance with your own policies. For even more specific configurations like VPN settings, web content filtering, systems restrictions, and much more, you can check out the Configurations tab for pre-built templates, or configure your own from scratch and deploy those to machines or users using supergroups and device employee information to target the exact devices you need to secure. So an example here, like iPadOS devices assigned to the marketing department, or another one here, like only contractors who have computers. There's a very helpful and free to take Rippling Learn course called Getting Started Device Management that covers a good deal of this as well and should be helpful if you're new to managing devices altogether. I hope that this has been a helpful crash course into some of the key security settings you'll need to enable in Rippling. But I want a final pro tip. I wanted to give you a final pro tip. If you want to review much of the information we've covered today, a great starting place is a Help Center article titled Learn More About Rippling's Security Features. Cheers, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.